So now let's go inside the building. The first thing you need to do is check the leak detection panel, which is most likely a Veeder-Root. The manager should be able to go through some of the different functions of the Veeder-Root. For example, get a leak test history, get an alarm history, and a status report on the interstitial monitor. You should be getting a 0.2 gallon per hour leak test on each tank at least once a month. This test report is printed out and kept in the appropriate tab section of your fuel records binder. Make sure you know how to get this information. It should be set up automatically so that these reports print out at a certain time of day. This can be programmed as a daily task, but the manager needs to understand the basics of the leak detection panel and how to get information if a regulatory inspector asks for it. When you look at the Veeder-Root panel, make sure that the alarm light is not on, which would indicate some sort of problem. If the light is on, it should be investigated immediately. APHIS management should never allow an alarm to stay on without taking some sort of action. Never disable an alarm. If it is considered a nuisance, then the problem should be investigated and action taken immediately. Next, let's review the fuel records binders. Per the Region LG Directive, APHIS has a standard protocol for keeping the fuel records. Records should be kept in 3 individually labeled and tab binders, according to our fuel system record-keeping requirements. Every store should have a copy of these requirements, and they should be posted on each binder and in the office so that everybody understands what goes in each binder. Each store should also have a poster of the fuel system checklist displayed for easy reference during record keeping and inspections. It can also be found in the EOP 36-3 and the RE, or Real Estate Environmental Portal. These posters and pocket-sized checklists can be ordered from the Atlanta Distribution Center. Refer to your fuel system checklist if you aren't sure when to conduct inspections. The key on record keeping from a regulatory inspector's standpoint includes the following. Is the tank system tight? For example, not leaking? So you need good leak test records on your tanks and lines and frequent sump and spill bucket inspection. For your tanks, you should have at least 1 passing tank test each month, not exceeding a 0.2 gallons per hour leak test rate. If you're not sure how to do this, contact a qualified equipment contractor. This can be programmed into your leak detection system for automatic checks. Line tests are required annually at a 0.1 gallon per hour leak rate. Some Veeder-Root panels can do that automatically. If your system cannot do that, then you'll need to get a third-party tester out to do a tightness test on your lines annually. Annually means every 12 months. In the past, some managers have forgotten to do this annual line tightness test, and they received a notice of violation. So be sure you have monthly and annual tank and line documentation showing that the entire system is tight. These test results are easily found by an inspector when the tab method is utilized. On the tanks, you want to have at least 2 years of results in chronological order. The neater your records, the better with the inspector. All leak test records should be kept for the life of the tanks. You should also have documentation on your annual line tightness test. There should also be completed inventory reconciliation forms, the APHIS forms, or another form that has the same information on it for checking your end-of-the-month variance on each tank. There is an APHIS form which does it automatically. It's an Excel spreadsheet where you fill in the numbers and it does the math for you. And at the end of the month, it compares your calculated end-of-month variance with the EPA allowed variance. If the calculated exceeds the allowable, it will color those 2 blocks in red. Otherwise, they will be green. If you have red blocks, you need to follow the instructions at the bottom of the form, such as investigating the problem. Did you miss a delivery, etc. If it isn't just a missed delivery and something else could be causing the problem, then you need to contact the installation and let them know that you've exceeded the allowed variance. Then take the appropriate actions, such as having someone come out to do some additional testing to see why the variance was off. EPA variance is 1% of your monthly throughput plus 130 gallons. So if you have a throughput of 100,000 gallons on a specific tank, 1% of 100,000 is 1,000, plus 130 is 1,130 gallons. This is your allowed variance. That's a significant amount. And although you may be under that amount, maybe only 700 or 800 gallons, it is still a large variance, and you need to find out why the variance is occurring. Other things you want to check on each tank will depend on the state where the facility is located. Each state has a different type of tank registration or certification, some sort of official form. A copy of this form should be kept in your records, as well as site plans or drawings showing the tank system layout, pipes, tanks, lines, etc. Any permits should be kept with this information as well, and include a copy of your local spill response plan, as well as any operating manuals you may have. The calibration of each dispenser should be checked every 6 months, and these records should be easy to find in your binders by using the tab method. Other important documentation would include Stage 1 and Stage 2 vapor recovery inspection records, above ground tank inspection records, your alarm history, date and time of any alarms, as well as what corrective actions were taken. Maintenance records should be kept in Binder 3. These would include any type of maintenance on your tanks, lines, dispenser, vapor recovery systems, etc. What can happen if you're missing a tank's leak test records for 1 month? A. You can receive a notice of violation from a regulatory inspector. B. You can receive a notice of violation from the installation. C. Nothing. You have passing tests on this tank for other months of the year. D. The fuel delivery company can refuse to put any more fuel into this tank. The answer is A. You're always vulnerable to a notice of violation if you're missing monthly tank tests. Your line leak detectors are functioning properly and you have a passing monthly leak test. Therefore, you do not need an annual test. True or false? The answer is false. An annual 0.1 gallons per hour line test is always required for each line. APHIS is an online fuel management training course. All associates with fuel-related duties such as responding to alarms, supervising deliveries, record keeping, etc. need to have completed the online fuel management course. This is an annual requirement every 12 months, and you need to keep good records of your training in binder number 1 under the tab labeled Training Records. This is especially important for new associates and managers. If they come from a non-fuel related facility such as outdoor living or one of the main stores, they may not know anything about fuel or tanks, so you need to make sure they have their online fuel management training course completed before they assume those duties on site. Coordinate with the local HRMs so that these new associates and managers can take this training as soon as possible. Let's summarize some key areas of importance to help avoid a notice of violation with your tank system. Ensure your automatic tank gauge and your tank interstitial probe are working properly. We use a double wall tank, so there is a space between the two tanks filled with a brine solution, and there is a probe measuring the level of the brine solution. If the brine level changes, you can get an alarm indicating there is a suspected leak in either the inside wall or the outside wall. So you want to make sure your automatic tank gauge and your probe are working properly. To do this, check the status report on your Veeder-Root panel that will tell you if everything is operating normally. Ensure your line leak detectors, that's both your automatic and mechanical line leak detectors, are tested and checked annually to ensure they're working properly. Some sites forget to check the line leak detectors annually according to manufacturer's recommendations and have received a notice of violation. Be sure that the tank and dispenser sump sensors are set within a ½ inch from the sump bottom and are working properly. Ensure your leak detection system is programmed to conduct your monthly tank leak test at 0.2 gallons per hour leak rate. Make sure the system is programmed to conduct an annual line tightness test at 0.1 gallon per hour leak rate if it can be programmed. If not, a third-party annual tank test is required. Now, for the line leak detection, ensure that the line leak detectors can run a 3.0 gallon per hour line test on each line. Your leak detection panel and petroleum equipment contractor can verify this. And finally, ensure your electronic overfill alarm, acknowledgement switch, and reset button outside near your vent pipes are working properly, and that everyone knows where they are and how to reset them. All of the key things we've discussed should be covered by the service contractor during the annual automatic tank gauge Veeder-Root maintenance check, but you should also make sure the system is functioning properly during the entire year. If something isn't working properly, have it investigated and corrected immediately. Again, non-compliance on any of these issues we've talked about could lead to a notice of violation if discovered during a regulatory inspection by federal, state, or local agencies, and it could lead to a large fine being levied against APHIS, which could cost up to tens of thousands of dollars or more. These fines are paid by the exchange or distribution center and come off of their bottom line. Another recommendation is to have your petroleum equipment service company representative on site for any regulatory inspection. Often, this person can answer technical questions by the inspector about equipment specifics, what tests the company did, when they did them, and the details of what type of test. So it's helpful to have a service company rep on site for these regulatory inspections. Some additional comments on records. You want to make sure that the 3 record binders are readily available for inspection and that all managers, supervisors, or shift managers know where the binders are and what's in them. It's a good idea to have a designated associate and a backup in charge of records. That way, you'll have at least 2 people who are aware of the records and know how to manage them. Each region and logistics has issued a directive on record keeping that summarizes EOP 36-3 and various guidances from the Real Estate Directorate on what documents and records must be maintained. So always refer to that information if you have questions. Missing records or failed tests could lead to an NOV more than anything else. So make sure you have all of your records by month, by year, in good chronological order. It is recommended that your Veeder-Root monthly printouts for your tank test be stapled to your end-of-month fuel reconciliation forms. This shows the inspector that there are 2 methods of leak detection, which helps to ensure the tanks are tight. Also, make sure your annual line test results are easily found. It is recommended the store manager and a backup be in charge of the fuel system records. True or false? This statement is true. You always need someone in charge of the fuel records and who understands them. A backup is needed when the primary is away. If you have a regulatory inspection, remember we have the APHIS Environmental Incident Report, or EIR. It's found online using the link found in EOP 36-3. Make sure you fill out the EIR if you have a regulatory inspection or if you have any serious issue or event with your tank system. We've primarily focused on underground tanks, but be aware that some facilities do have above-ground tanks as well as a below-grade vaulted system. A below-grade vaulted system is just a steel tank sitting in a below-grade concrete basement. There are some key inspections required of these, so refer to the Memo of Understanding, or MOU, associated with that project, detailing who does what regarding inspections, maintenance, and repairs, and other installation responsibilities. There is also an exhaust fan and a vapor alarm system that's key to a vault system from a safety standpoint, and those need to be inspected and maintained by the installation. Well, that sums up fuel system inspection and compliance. I hope this training has been beneficial, and by keeping your fuel system in compliance will help make your job a little easier. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact the Environmental Division within the Real Estate Directorate at APHIS headquarters.